In unity is about changing lives. And in unity, we see Jesus as our master way shower. The basic teachings of unity are based on the life and the wisdom of who we would call our master, and that is Jesus. And at the same time, unity really embraces all the great wisdom teachers, throughout the ages. And we are of the belief that God did not stop inspiring with the Bible, that God is constantly inspiring and is constantly inspiring through really each and every one of us. And I love that. I love that about unity. We do not claim to have the final answer. And the basic thing for me about unity is that the teachings in unity really try to turn it to you and for you to go within and into your heart and to open up to seeking what is true for you. And again, I love that because just interpretation in and of itself. We all see things differently and view things differently. And I know for myself that something that I would interpret today in a certain way, 5 years from now, I may be interpreting that very differently based on what is happening in my life and based on the years of experience in my life. How many of us, as we have gotten older, believe and know that we have gained wisdom along the way? Yes? Yeah. And aren't there times when you think, boy, I wish that I could talk to my younger self and say, hey, these are some things I'd like to tell you. And don't you want to impart that wisdom to the younger people in your life? Because you don't want them to go through what we went through, right? They're going to go through their stuff. But it's interesting because I still recognize that even though we're at the place where we are, and I look at my children or I look at my grandchildren, they're in the same place I was, where it was just like, I wasn't getting it. I wasn't really listening to it. And yet there's so much to be gained from wisdom from, I'm going to say our elders, but there's wisdom from everybody. So first I want to remind everybody that we are in the midst of for this year anyway, we're going to be talking about one of the 12 powers as discerned by our co-founder, Charles Fillmore. Now, Charles Fillmore looked at each of the disciples, and he discerned which power they most embodied. And he matched that power with that disciple. And so we started with the month of January, which is still January. But we started talking about the power of love. And love is represented by the disciple John. And love is the foundation of everything. And that's why it was so important to start with love. Because the reality, my friends, is that love wins. Love always wins. We just have to stay with it. We just have to stay the course with it and keep loving and keep loving and keep loving in all the ways that we know how to love, even when it doesn't seem like we're making any movement. Because the moment that we step back, then that, it's not that the progress isn't still there, but we have a tendency to pull back farther. And instead of being that energy that is helping to bring this light into the world, we're now stepping back and going, I just don't think that this is really working. Love always wins. Always, always, always. Love never fails. And so we talked about love as self-love, love as forgiveness, love as service, love as kindness and compassion. And there are so many ways that love expresses through each and every one of us. And so the main thing from this month is that I want to encourage you to really let yourself be in this space of what does love look like? And I love the WWLD. What would love do? What would love do? And I know that at any time that I'm focused on anything in my life, opportunities and experiences present themselves for me to hone my skills. And so have you had any opportunities present themselves for you to hone your self-love skill or your forgiveness skills or your kindness and compassion skills in this month? And that's good. That's how we grow that love muscle. Those are opportunities. And one of the things I want to say in that is that as we're given those opportunities, and there are going to be times when we're like, wow, I really felt good about how I presented myself. I really was authentic, or I really was able to just stay in this space of love, and we're going to feel good about it. Sometimes we're not going to quite reach it, and that's okay. The main thing is that we're awake and we're aware enough that in any given situation or opportunity, we can recognize, wow, okay. And I love on our Saturday class, we just finished up the 21 skills of spiritual intelligence. And so there were like 9 steps for us to take to be able to, and what she calls this is equanimity, where we are, how we're showing up on the outside is how we're feeling on the inside. Have you ever had times where you're trying to have your composure, but on the inside you're anything but composed? Yes. Well, really, that's the energy that's going out. And so the first couple steps are stop. Stop. When you feel that energy coming up, stop. When you feel that you're shrinking back, or you feel that that energy coming at you, and you want to meet that energy with the same thing, stop. In those moments, wake up, stop. Step back and breathe. And breathe and give yourself that opportunity to make a different choice. And there are other steps to that, but just those 3 steps in and of themselves are huge. And you know what we also talked about yesterday was that it's okay if you're in a situation and there's this big energy going around and you say, I have to excuse myself for a little bit. It's okay. It doesn't matter. It's okay. Because what matters is that you can find your way back to your center. And can we have a little bit of air in here? Thank you. Okay. So today we're going to begin talking about the power of wisdom. And wisdom is actually represented by the disciple, James, the son of Zebedee. Now, my talk title is Wisdom of the Ages, and you may be thinking, oh, she's going to really be sharing some cool wisdom of the ages like ancients, and I am going to do that, but not today. Today I'm going to be sharing wisdom of the ages. All of us we can look to so many different things to gain wisdom. And so the first place that we're going to look is we're going to look at some of children's wisdom, practical wisdom from children. Oliver, at age 5, how to stay looking young, asked a vampire to bite your neck, then hit him with garlic and run. Who'd have guessed? Age 7, when is it okay to kiss someone when they're rich? Hannah, age 8. I love this one. If you're feeling blue, try painting yourself a different color. That is deep. Maura, age 8. This is another great one. Sometimes you just need to take a nap and get over it. Stop, step back, breathe, take a nap if you need to. What's the moral of Cinderella? Sophia, age 10. Good things happen when you wear the right shoes. That's for us girls. That's for us girls. I especially liked this one, though. Why do grown-ups love wine? Alice, age 6. It helps them live long because it's grapes. It's 1 of your 5 a day. So basically, it's a health drink. I'm telling you can get wisdom from anywhere, and I like that wisdom. I'm good with that. I have a health drink most every day. Okay, as I said, wisdom is represented by James, the son of Zebedee. And there were 3 disciples in particular who were with Jesus on most occasions. And that was John, and then Peter, who is faith, and then John and James, the sons of Zebedee, who are love and wisdom. And it's really important to develop these 3 powers together. In March, we are going to be talking about the power of faith. And, just remembering that what we talked about is that wisdom without love can be very cold. And love without wisdom can just get us into some interesting situations. And so it's important that love and wisdom really do go together. Wisdom is our highest form of spiritual knowing. Wisdom is that divine wisdom is what we're talking about here. This is when when we're really taking that time to go apart and recognize that we have all these ideas in our mind. Our intellect knows so much. And we're good processors, aren't we? We're like, we see something come up or something that we want to do, and man, we're right there in our head, aren't we? And we're thinking things out, and we're saying, yeah, I should do this or I shouldn't do that because of this or that or this or that. And that's all good. But the first place that we should always be going is within. The first place that we should always go when anything comes up that we're seeking wisdom on is to go within, to be still and know. To be still and know that you at this moment are immersed in this divine intelligence, in this divine wisdom. It is actually, you are the essence of that expressing. And when we make that journey, and it really is the journey from the head to the heart, and we take that time apart and we just breathe. And it's not because even that we're going in with a question. It's that we're just going in and we're just allowing whatever is there to present itself. And I can promise you this, that when you do that, there will be divine impulses. Things will all of a sudden come to mind, or, we've talked about this a lot before. People will show up. Different things will come into your presence in some way, and you'll know, or I hadn't thought about that before. Oh my gosh. Or, wow, this opportunity just showed up. I can't believe that opportunity just showed up, and I know that I'm supposed to move forward in this. And that is the wisdom that you can trust, that is going to really lead you to your grandest and greatest experience of life. Now, hear me when I say that, because divine wisdom doesn't mean that you're never going to experience some tough times. Because in our journey, a lot of times, wisdom is moving us to perhaps move away from something. And we may sometimes willingly move away, or sometimes something might fall apart in order for us to move forward. But that's still that divine wisdom that is moving us. And so, a huge part of that is trusting in that. And that's not easy, is it? When things are going awry, when things are falling apart, it's very, very, very hard to trust that is that divine wisdom that is guiding us, because it feels anything like it. Because we have this idea in our minds that divine wisdom has to be holy and sacred, as almost in a gentleness. And yet what we find in life is it's not always this holy, sacred, gentle experience, right? But divine wisdom is always there, always. And it is many, many times in those times that things are breaking apart that divine wisdom is saying, hold on, hold on. Because I promise you that I'm moving you to something greater. I promise you that you are gonna experience something you couldn't even imagine before. But hold on and trust and know and just go with it. And most of the time we usually just have to go with it, don't we? But there's a difference in how we experience it. Do we experience it with holding on and kicking and screaming? And yes, have we all done that? Yes. Or we can go in that place of still feeling what the pain is of it. But then again, trusting divine wisdom is always right here. And it is always here, no matter what. It's always here. We just have to allow ourselves to be open to that flow of it. We have to open ourselves up to the movement of that flow. But it will always take you to your greatest and grandest. There was a quote that said, had we always maintained a clear, beautiful connection with Spirit through the Christ mind, our faculty of wisdom would be pouring out to us a constant, limitless stream of divine insight and guidance. How many of us here have experienced moments of the divine insight where that came from that wasn't from your mind? Yeah, is that the coolest thing? That's here for us all the time. That's not just a random thing. That's not just here every so often. That is accessible to us every single moment of our lives. The author of this says, Spirit within knows whatever you need to know. This channel is opened as you retrain your thinking and move into spiritual intuition. And it's really as we become the conduit for it to flow through us. But again, as I say, most every week, we can't listen here and then go back out into our life the same we've been doing it and think it's going to change. We have to be committed to this journey. This is the most important journey of your entire life experience, is your journey into spirit, your spiritual foundation. Because out of this comes everything else. Everything else. And it will be far different than the journey without that foundation and without that nurturing and nourishment on a daily basis. So it's important that we do take time. What a beautiful day. Go out today. So at some point today and just sit in nature and just let yourself be open. You know, I think, go out in nature and I think, how could you not just feel God in all of that? It's so powerful. So the reason that I decided to talk about wisdom today on the last day of January instead of waiting until February was because we have an incredible youth program. It's the YOU, the Youth of Unity. And these are our teenagers who are essentially in high school. And every fifth Sunday, they come and they're a part of our service. And they're platforming. Ellie was doing the platforming this morning. Christine did earlier, helping with our wraparound songs. And I really wanted to integrate them more into the service. And so Macy, who is our director of our teens, shared with me that Sophia Spangler did a lesson for the kids. Now, the YOUers, they create their own lessons and then they present them. And she said she did this lesson on wisdom, and she was just like, it was amazing. So I'm like, send it to me. So I read it, and I was blown away by it. So I asked Sophia, would you be willing to share your wisdom? Sophia just turned 17. And so, Sophia, if you'll come on up, Sophia is going to share part of what she shared with her group, and I know that you're going to be absolutely blessed by this.
Okay, so for me to aptly tell my beliefs on wisdom, I have to tell you the story of a man who has influenced me greatly, and that is the poet and philosopher Rumi. First, I want to share with you a quote that is very embodied in his story. It's one of the truths that he really lived. This quote is, "Out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there, when the soul lies down in the grass and the world is too full to talk about." Okay, just to get your wheels turning, I will ask you what you interpret this quote to mean, and then at the end I'll ask you if your interpretation has changed after I tell his story. Now, Rumi, as you all may know, was born into wealth and power and politics and was a member of high society and regarded as such. But he made it very clear as he got older that he was not going to let his rank discriminate against certain individuals and dictate who he could and could not be friends with, and he found some companions in what were considered the drudges of society. One of the most unlikely and remarkable and influential of his companions was a man by the name of Shams, a wild, holy man, and a wanderer. He was called the Bird because he could not stay in one place for too long. Now, he was said to be on the search for some grand master student, as he called it, and upon meeting Rumi, he knew that he had found him. Him and Rumi flourished together, and they continued to grow, but as I said, society looked down upon those who were friends with the drudges, and Shams received many death threats. So, to preserve his life, he left Rumi. Rumi slowly sunk into a deep, deep depression, and as the story goes, his health started to deteriorate. Now, upon hearing the deteriorating health of his beloved student, Shams disregarded all societal boundaries and abandoned his sense of propriety and went to go see Rumi again. Now, sadly, this story does not end happily. It ends in Shams dying under still unknown circumstances, but happily, him and Rumi were together whenever he passed. So, upon hearing this story, has your interpretation of that quote changed? Now, the idea I wanted to bring to light with this story is the unity between people despite differences, which is one of the biggest things I find really speaks to me. Too often in life, I feel that we pass judgments on others without fairly examining their deep thoughts and passions and misgivings. If we did, I believe that we would find the outer things, the things we feel may define a person, like their age, their rank, the color of their skin, something as petty as their style, are not at all a fair representation of their true being. We each have a soul, and that soul a body, and are all thrown into life in search of meaning. We all may search in different ways, and some of us may be further along in the search than others. But in the end, we are here on our paths, struggling and flourishing, so different but so very similar. Now, I have one parting quote from Rumi. Yesterday, I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today, I am wise, so I am changing myself. I believe that wisdom is knowing that no matter how many lives you live and how many ways you live them, you will never know all there is to know. I believe that despite this fact, a truly wise individual continues to seek all the mysteries that they can, never letting their passion in the pursuit of knowledge and curiosity die. And they are never too proud to realize that the only possible way to solve all of these mysteries is with the help of others, no matter the differences. After all, it is these differences which cultivate growth. For me, wisdom is not found in the external world by memorizing facts. That is merely the mark of competence. If you are to be truly wise, you must explore within and hold no fear of changing with the tides around you, but always changing for the better. Wisdom holds no knowledge of the color of your skin or the religion you choose, for it knows that deep down, at the barest parts, these things do not matter. What matters is a unity between all of us, whether some neglect to see it or not. I believe that you are not born with a finite amount of wisdom, nor are there only finite amount of wisdom in the world that we can gather. I believe that this universe holds infinite wisdom if one will simply see. Think of the complexities of cells and the complexity of your very body and the energy that pulses through it, the complexity of all living things and the mechanisms that make them tick. There are proteins that can corrupt another protein by simply being in their presence, and there are non-living curiosities that we call viruses, but they do something extraordinary, and it is for the things that they do that 5 to 8% of our DNA is from them, just because they can incorporate their gene into our gene. And if that's not proof enough, look to the world around you, but actually see and feel that pull to the mountains and the deep calm at the beach. Feel yourself be connected to these things, and with this connection, know that you are also connected to the infinite wisdom around you, and with that connection, one can become infinitely wise. And finally, I believe that gathering wisdom along with loving and being loved is one of the only purposes humans have on this earth. And if one is seeking purpose, they should begin here. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. I think Unity is in pretty good hands. You think so? Yeah. Thank you. Amazing, amazing. I want to share with you, I don't have much time, but I want to share with you some wisdom. Now we're gonna move up to 97 and a half years old. And I called our own Papa Harry last night, and I said, Harry, what are some things that you would want to share? And Harry's legs are hurting him today, so he's not here. But he said, number one is that your spiritual development is the most important thing in your journey. And even though you may not understand it, it is the most important thing that you can do to make your life well-rounded. He was very adamant, saying Jesus Christ is our way shower. He said to get acquainted with denials and affirmations, that denials can help you move your mind away from the problem. And he said he uses affirmations all day long. And you know what I got to thinking about? I have spent a lot of time with Harry, and I have never one time in all the years, no matter what was going on, seen him in a bad mood. And he was saying, I constantly have affirmations going. constantly, constantly. He said meditate often, and that meditation for him is a way of releasing and letting go. Prayer is the intro to meditation, and prayer is highly important in his life. And he said, and I thought this was great for all of us to hear, because he's 97 and a half years old. His mind is as clear as can be. He drives, he moves around. He said, what we put into our bodies is important to our longevity. So be aware of that. And then he called me back and he said one more thing. He says, when I say to everybody, I love each and every one of you, he said, I truly mean that I love each and every one of you. Great wisdom, huh? Yeah. And I'm good? Okay, no, I don't need to go on. So today really is about, recognizing and opening up to that there's wisdom all around us. And that so many times, and I loved how you said that, we will discount people because of how they look, because of their differences. And we will never get to know the person. And, one of the blessings for me when I get to do a lot of celebrations of life, which is our kind of a memorial service. And every time I do one, every time, I'm like, I wish I would have known this person in life. Because there's so much that we don't know about each other. And yet all of us, we've lived enough life. I mean, my goodness, at 17 to be able to give that wisdom, we've all lived enough life that we have wonderful wisdom to share with each other. And so I encourage you to take time to get to know each other. Take time to get to know the people around you in your families that you haven't really sat down and talked to about their life. Because I promise you, you will absolutely be blessed by that experience. And so your homework for this week, if you would like to do it, is number 1, go outside today, enjoy the day, take some time to just be in the silence and open yourself up. And number 2 is just to be open to wisdom, however it's going to come to you, because it will. And namaste. Have a beautiful, beautiful week.